After the success of Top Gun Maverick, director Joseph Kosinski is back with another thrilling movie full of high-speed cockpit views. This time, though, he's staying on the ground. F1 the movie. It just sounds weird, right? Let's just call it F1. It is here with Brad Pitt in the lead. I mean, it's all about Formula One racing. But are you going to enjoy this if you have zero interest in cars or racing? Dubbed the greatest that never was, Sonny Hayes was Formula One's most promising phenom of the 1990s, until an accident on the track nearly ended his career. 30 years later, he's a nomadic racer for hire. Ruben, his former teammate, convinces Sonny to come back to Formula One, where he'll drive along Joshua Pearce, the team's hotshot rookie, intent on setting his own pace. So racing and car movies, they're not anything new, but the greats transcend racing and capture the human drama, which then only enhances the thrills of those cars. Now, other racing movies, they focus more on the speed and spectacle, leaning into the action just to engage us. But Ford v Ferrari, Rush, even Gran Turismo, they captured the heart and soul of the characters and then surrounded them with the racing world. Now, F1 strives to accomplish the same thing. And the character development we get on Brad Pitt's Sonny comes in chunks that are spread throughout the story, especially when it comes to his background and motives. Now, from the opening sequence, we are shown the type of driver that Sonny Hayes is. It just gives us a ton of insight into his values, his mindsets, and his tactics. The opening also instantly lets us know the type of filming and action we can expect. The camera puts us into the driver's seat to see the world from their perspective, while also providing alternating shots of the race just as a whole. And we're shown how close cars can get to each other. I mean, the rumbling, shaking the driver's experience from just those insane speeds, and then the chaos that comes from multiple cars hurtling around a track while the drivers all have to hear multiple voices in their heads from their teams giving them instructions. Now, let me start with the acting. Brad Pitt is kind of how I expected him to be. I mean, he's a less snarky or zen-minded version of his character in Bullet Train, mixed with some of the laid-back everyman from his character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And there's even a moment where he felt exactly like Cliff Booth. But I liked Sonny. I mean, he's direct, mostly no nonsense, and he brings the type of old-school mentality to the racetrack that his new F1 team needs, to push the limits and see the competition for what it actually is: fast-moving combat in the battle for first place. And his dynamic with the rest of the cast, it ranges from tumultuous to empathetic, creating interactions and then relationships that feel at home within the story's natural drama. And sometimes the consistency with the characters makes it seem like he's more one-dimensional. In the context of the entire story, though, and then when combined with all of the background that we get with his character, we can see how his guarded and quiet demeanor, it's not a lack of depth, but instead is a tightly controlled persona whose internal dialogue drives him harder and fiercer than anything on the outside or an entity could influence him. Damson Idris plays the young hotshot teammate Joshua Pearce, or JP. And while his character and arc aren't completely new or even novel, the way Idris embodies the character makes him feel vibrant and fresh, with a dynamic personality that has the opportunity for massive growth. And I love how we watch Idris morph and transition his character. I mean, JP goes from cocky, self-absorbed, singularly focused on his own brand, to one that begins to understand what a team actually is. He was grating at the start, more out of the aloofness that JP contains. I mean, he makes himself the most important person in the room, which is off-putting, even if he is the racing talent. And that's not to say also that Pitt's Hayes isn't aloof. It's just a completely different tone of aloof, though. JP's progression mimics many other storylines where a young or less experienced character has a setback and then has to re-examine their life and motives to then make the necessary changes required to succeed. I mean, most recently, I think of Gran Turismo, where the main character needed to adapt the way he'd been training and thinking so that he could improve. And the same goes here. I mean, it's not a unique character arc, but Idris has the charisma to transition his character from arrogance to humility pretty believably, crafting an endearing persona all along the way. And then we have the supporting cast who add so much heart and depth to the storytelling. Javier Bardem, Carrie Condon, Kim Bodnia, Tobias Menzies, Sarah Niles, Abdul Salas, Will Merrick, Joseph Balarama, Samson Kao, and Callie Cook. I mean, each of them work to bring out the character nuances of our two leads. But these actors also bring their own story value on their own as well. I mean, they're not just there to prop up Pitt and Idris. And the mix of personalities they create, it adds some humor, tension, frustration, sometimes even sadness. And even if they didn't have much screen time, their presence and addition to the storytelling was noticeable in a good way. But the standouts of the supporting cast are Bardem and Condon. Both are fierce in their own rights, each character having something to prove and being wholly reliant on two drivers who can't seem to agree the majority of the time. I mean, the frustration Bardem showcases is just a wonderful mix of anger and regret, while never losing his charm and empathy. I mean, Bardem builds his character to be somebody who's tough and exasperated, but not without a soul. He doesn't lose his genuine concern for his friend or his team. And Condon is excellent, using a great mix of snark and intelligence to showcase her character's strength. I mean, she's a good balance within the cast because she can be brutal and steadfast when necessary, but also compassionate and encouraging when it's needed. And I liked her dynamic with Pitt. Although I was rooting for the romantic chemistry between them, I don't think a relationship outside of their teamwork was necessary at all. I mean, the story worked to establish a great rapport and understanding, just leading to believable camaraderie. But the inclusion of a romantic entanglement weakened the strength of Condon's character in the long run. Now, cinematography for this is immersive, fluid, sometimes terrifying. As I've said already, we're in the cockpit of the cars as they race around, showing us the views as the surroundings become blurry and just wickedly quick around the vehicle. Now, there are some excellent perspective shifts where we will see the driver head on, and then the camera just pivots in this seamless motion to show us what they're seeing. I mean, it happens enough so that it doesn't feel like a gimmick, but also not often enough that it becomes a crutch. The racing footage itself is also wonderfully captured, allowing us to feel the motion and speed of the cars along with the massive suspense that comes as the racers battle it out over 1/100th of a second. Now, for as much as I enjoyed the characters, the visuals, they were my favorite part of the movie. Saying that, though, there is a ton of racing that's incorporated into this 2.5-hour film. So if you're more into the human drama, this could prove to become stale, even boring. I mean, not because there isn't a crap ton of excitement within the races, but if you're not really into cars or the actual visuals of the race, it all is very similar and then just becomes one long string of people driving around quickly. That's where I think a movie like Ford v Ferrari did the entire production better. I mean, yeah, there was racing, and we got to see inside the car as the drivers went around the track, but at the core was this deep human drama. For F1, while there is some of that deep human drama, the race footage eclipses the emotion in favor of cars just going around fast. I do think, though, that if you are into racing or you just enjoy these types of movies, the track footage can enhance and increase the emotional attachment to the story. Not necessarily to the characters, but just the production as a whole. And as someone who was really digging the racing, I did begin to feel the time just a little bit. I mean, I wasn't bored, but the time didn't fly by nearly as fast as the racers did. With that said, though, the story is rather generic, too. I mean, for as exciting as the visuals make this, and for just how dynamic the characters can be in spots, the plot is exactly what you think it is, and it doesn't play out any differently. And because the story is common and has been executed over and over and over, for anyone who's not feeling the race aspect, this becomes even more of a slog through familiar terrain. F1 could have catapulted from good to phenomenal if the story structure had captured something fresh or unique to combine with its wonderful visuals. So overall, F1 is thrilling, immersive, and heartfelt, but I think this isn't a film everyone is going to fully enjoy if you're not into the speed. Other films of this genre create a more accessible storyline and unique plot, where non-car people can become enveloped in the story arcs, but here, non-car people will struggle to stay engaged. Pitt, Idris, Condon, and Bardem bring a lot of heart to the storytelling and manage to humanize the plot even when the focus is on the inanimate objects. The cinematography is by far the standout, creating uniquely terrifying and exhilarating views that combine motion, energy, and danger into a beautiful visual ballet of speed. I had fun with this, but it won't surpass the depth and connection other similar films have, just thanks to their focus on the human drama through novel story progression over the racing. There's no sex or nudity, there's a lot of profanity, some violence. I give F1, or technically F1 the movie, 4 out of 5 couches. Do you enjoy racing-themed movies? Do you have a favorite? I would love to know what it is in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.